Oh, bella apathy. How does it feel to play on the witch side? It feels strange. I used to think that the witch side is such a huge advantage. Ah, ciao Fede! But now that I'm on that side, I see that that's ridiculous. It's almost like the party game where you stick knives in a barrel. From the perspective of the human side, it feels like trying to shoot at a target hidden by mist. But from the witch side, a single shot might become fatal. And the old me played several games just like that. Yeah, it's almost like a Russian roulette. Even so, you stretch those games out to the limit, believing that I would eventually figure it out. It may be impudent of me to ask, but just what is it that you figured out, Butler-san? Quello che un po' penso vi state chiedendo tutti. At the very end of your games with the old me. It was a strange question. In the past, Beato had always been the one posing it to Butler, but now that Butler had figured it out, Beato was the one asking him about it. It's the exact opposite. In the past, only you remembered, and only I forgot. But now it's the other way around. Only I remember, and only you have forgotten. Would you mind telling me what it is? Telling you would be easy. I don't want to tell you. I'm not trying to be mean. I just want to believe in a miracle myself. Just for a little bit. A miracle? Yes, this was the single miracle seed that Butler had preserved. If Beato could remember a certain something without being told, that would prove that Beato had revived in the truest sense. So he wouldn't tell her. It was Butler's final seed, which existed because he still couldn't abandon his hope that Beato might revive. Sarebbe stato troppo bello se ce l'avesse detto direttamente, no? If you can tell me, then I won't ask. If I have upset you, please forgive me. Don't worry about it. I'm just clinging to the past. As she watched that sad smile, Beato's chest tightened. He was looking at her and seeing the old her. Yes, I must become my former self for his sake. My older sister, who gets burned by spider webs, and I, who don't, must become one. Surely it's more useful to him if I go on a journey to find myself now. Now that I have simply... No, then if I simply watch over his game. How do you feel about this game? Do you think you can win? Yes, I believe I can. I'll win and end this eternal torture, just like Beato wanted. When it ends, what will happen to the world? Who knows? I'm really not sure. But that's what we wished for. So, no matter what the result is, I intend to accept it. I wonder what will happen to me. Beato was uncertain. Even she was probably no more than a piece in this game. If the game ended, then would she, one who had been born out of the game's rules, disappear? The game would probably disappear. But now I completely understand magic. So I'll be able to carry you off. Wow, okay. So I'll be able to carry you off the game board. I think that was your wish. My wish? The rest is a secret. I'll be waiting for the miracle, for you to remember all of that by yourself. After smiling bitterly for just a second, Butler laughed and told her not to worry. Apparently, it was best if she avoided talking to Butler about her previous self. Well then, I'll go check on my opponent for a bit. I can't wait to see what kind of twisted logic that idiot thinks up next. The old Butler-san did a lot of that too. My favorite was the one from the first twilight of the second game, when you said that the culprit killed everyone by feeding them small bombs. The highlights of my dark past. Please forget that ever happened. Yes, I will try. Butler became a cloud of gold butterflies and disappeared into the darkness. Beato remained bowed until he had disappeared completely. To fill in his place, a single gold butterfly appeared and became Beato the Elder. Did you call me, little sister? Yes, I want to know more about you. And I want to know what the real me is like. I want to become like that. Of course. I also want to know about my future self. We revealed everything about ourselves to each other for that purpose. However, we did not become one. I cannot understand what we must do to become our single self. What can we do to become one? I have high hopes for the trials of Zephyr and Furfur. You mean the miracle of magic given to the victors? I wonder if that magical miracle means becoming one full self. I will be able to attain my true form. You will be able to fulfill Butler's wishes. Butler will also be happy, and all of us will suddenly have what we want. I can't get away from this trial, can I? Which means you cannot afford to lose to the other two pairs. George-san and Shannon-chan, Jessica-san and Kanon-san. I can only grasp happiness by trampling over them. The conditions apply equally to all. If one of the others succeeds in love, the other two pairs, including you, will be trampled over. Why must the scales be so unbalanced, I wonder? Unbalanced? Some people will find love, others won't. So I can understand placing those two groups on the two plates of a set of scales. But the scales for our trial have 3 plates, and 2 must lose for 1 to win. It seems horribly unbalanced. Who knows? It means the successful love is worth 2 destroyed loves. Your words do not inspire confidence, little sister. If you cannot put your desire to answer for Butler's expectations before your concern for the losers, victory will slip through your fingers. Right. I won't give up on our victory. I don't like doing this to the others, but there will be no hard feelings between us. If I do lose, I'll give my strongest blessings to whichever couple wins. So I'll fight with all of my heart and soul so that I have no lingering regrets. and I'll win that miracle of magic. How was it? Did you read? Did the red and blue shoot out over this? Mamma mia. How was it? How did the red and blue shoot out over the first Twilight go? It was just gathering information to start. Butler seemed pretty fired up. She had just returned from a fierce fight with Butler, fought using the information gained through repetition requests. It was the old familiar kind of fight, reminiscent of the time when the red texts had first appeared, or when the blue text had first been permitted. And the result? First, in all cases, it was the victim themselves that constructed the locked rooms. Also, those locked rooms were perfectly preserved until Krause's group broke them open. Also, I confirmed that during that period, all forms of interference from the outside were impossible. Erika reported this proudly, as though it had been a great battle, but Pencaster looked bored as she listened. After looking at her blankly for a second, Lambda Delta spoke her opinions frankly. Wait a second. Doesn't that mean that this locked room murder was perfect? The victims had sealed the locked room themselves, and the state had been preserved until Krause and the others had broken the locked rooms open, and no one had been inside the locked rooms except for the victims. And Krause's group, the ones who had broken the room open, were not the culprits. Erika's battle had proceeded in this way, with her detailed repetition requests winning her several other little red truths just like this. Just like these. Normally, simply collecting such vital information would have been enough. However, the witch who was a master was tired of boredom, and she had been expecting a much more flashy, argument-winning victory instead of this bland result. However, this time I don't have the detective's authority, so there's a chance that my examination of the corpses could have been in error. So, if we suppose that a drug which mimics death was used to fool my examination, You mean puro puro pikuyo? Puro puro piku puyo? No, not that. It's not impossible for certain well-known drugs, such as insulin, to bring about a temporary state that mimics death. Butler did not counter that with the red truth. In other words, my blue truth worked. I'd say we started with a victory. To sum up Erika's report, all she had done was listen to the red truths Butler had wanted her to hear. Only the information Butler had wanted to provide had been presented, and she hadn't been able to strike at any weak points. She was like a kid who had gone out shopping, then forgotten her job and only bought candy. However, this was all the players on the human side could do. Without the detective's proclamation, she could only fight by collecting dull bits of information like that. All the same, her master had been expecting more than any sort of that sort of dull fight. So, she had tried to give her report energetically to make it seem as though they were in a superior position. But no matter how much she tried, the cold expression of her master remained merciless. Your blue truth? What? You mean it was too ridiculous for him to bother cutting down? Impressive powers of deduction, great detective. I did try to examine the corpses with care, to the best of my abilities. However, I don't have the detective's authority, so I can't be certain. Wait a second. Weren't you the one who decided not to make the detective proclamation? Didn't you say you wanted to raise the stakes and make up for your disgrace last time? Well, what's wrong? Are you saying you can't win against Butler without the detective's authority? Not at all, my master. I can easily defeat an incompetent buffoon like that, even without the detective's authority. It's just, this style of fighting is a little different from what I'm used to, and I haven't gotten the hang of it yet. Compared to other human beings, Erika would rank as extremely talented. Her knowledge and powers of memory and insight were ahead of the pack, and most likely no human could be more suitable for the role of a detective than her. However, no matter how superior she might be to other humans, that didn't matter in the game of witches. In a witch game is either 0 or 100. In other words, everything is either the red truth or it isn't. If a normal human abilities were worth a 10, her exceptional power would probably rate a 99. However, it could never be 100. Since it was less than 100, it wasn't absolutely certain, so it didn't count as red truth. For example, the examination of the corpses that Erika had worried over in the fight just now, if she had performed it with the detective's authority, she could have said with 100% certainty whether they were alive or dead. However, without the detective proclamation, it was 99%. There was a 1% chance that she made a mistake, and that overturned the foundation of the examination. The reason Erika had gained the detective's authority and become the Witch of Truth was that Ben Castle had supplemented her talent of 99 with an additional 1. Just because Ben Castle wouldn't give her that 1 in the world of witches, Erika's 99 was treated exactly the same as 0. Even her talented assistant Dlanor couldn't be put to proper use without a power of 100. When working under an Erika who had lost her detective authority, Dlanor's red sword lost its power. Dlanor also found it vexing that she couldn't provide adequate assistance. She had tried several times to convince Erika to use the detective proclamation, but Erika had stubbornly refused each time. Why not just use it? Make the detective proclamation. If you do, you'll be unstoppable. Dlanor could even use her red longsword and the Nox Decalogue. Why not do it? Why not do it if you want? Faccia bullizzata. No. There was no need for anyone to explain. By now it was clear that Erika hadn't abandoned the detective proclamation by her own will. When Butler reached the truth in the previous game, this game was already finished. This isn't really the 6th game. It's a finale game so that Butler can have a chance to serve as Game Master at the end. Everything was already decided last game. Yeah, pretty much. The games won't continue forever, and I lost my bet with Burn. In this game, Butler will prove that he's reached the game's truth, and then Beato's game will be destroyed in a big victory for the human side. And a big victory for Bern too. Well, supposedly, but you look unsatisfied for some reason. Because I am. I didn't want such a boring victory. The victory you wanted was for Beato's game board to be torn to bits, and for Beato's true, pathetic form to be exposed, humiliated and trampled on. But this victory of Butler's isn't quite like that, is it? It's all about love. and promises. To end the game quietly and let her rest in peace. That sort of ending would make anyone vomit. I didn't give Butler or advice that he could end things like that. I had his little sister turn to scrap meat behind his back. I had his parents and family killed horribly over and over again. That was all to spark a desire for revenge against Beato. And now, what kind of ending is this? Have I won? Of course not. Butler has gotten his hands on a victory that neither you nor I can stand. I came all the way out here to see Beatrice lamely and pathetically torn to bits. And I endured a staggering period of boredom just for that one purpose. I didn't come here to sip from a rotten yogurt fragment like this. Aw, your angry face is wonderful too, Ben. I get it, so you wanted at least one final something to get the bad taste out of your mouth. It's all the fault of this moron piece screwing up last game. Because of you, the first game board in centuries that looked like it might be a bit of fun for me is all wasted. Filth, trash, scum. My apologies, my master. I will definitely bring you a victory, so please forgive me. If you couldn't win with the detective's authority in the last game, how do you expect to defeat Butler now that he's the game master? You don't have a chance at winning even with the detective's authority. So why bother with it? Yeah, if you can't win anyway, then who needs the detective's authority? A certain loss become even more certain, big whoop. And therefore, if you manage to win in this even worse situation, that would be a miracle worthy of me. If and only if you can do that, I'll be able to forgive you. Yes, I will surely show you that miracle. You wish you could, disgusting puke spittle. The best you can do is take part in the worst punishment game ever for the worst game ever, with your only weapon, the detective proclamation, taken away from you, humiliating yourself until you have no dignity left. And through it all, you'd roll onto your back like a dog and beg for my affection. Your purpose, puke spittle, is to make me laugh. Sounds like you're having a great time in here. Am I interrupting? Gold butterflies gathered in the darkness and took the shape of Butler. Though he had just arrived, he seemed to realize immediately that the mood was dark. Huh, Butler. I had a look at your first twilight. Quite impressive locked rooms. I'm sure you're more talented than Beato. It's just a rehash of the locked rooms Beato made in the past. I'll take that to be a compliment for Beato. It seems your fight with Erika wasn't bad either. Think your serial murders will move along smoothly? Who knows? My role isn't to carry out serial murders. It's to use the process to demonstrate locked rooms that are impossible without magic, and thereby achieve victory for the witch side and prove that I have fully understood this game. No, There's one more thing.
何？
What?
前回
To settle the score with Erika, since our previous duel ended in an even tie.
バトラー。合格。
Even tie? Ben Castle noticeably grimaced. Erika averted her eyes and hung her head timidly.
お前の言い分は分かる
I know what you're
あん
thinking.
なのは引き分
That
けじゃない
wasn't a draw.
勝てて当然だから
You should have won
あれは負け
easily,
も
so it
同然
counts
だ
as a
ぞ
loss.
あらやだ。
Hey,
盗み聞
it's
きな
not
んて性格
polite
悪
to
い。
eavesdrop.
鏡見ろ
Look in the
お
mirror.
前らの顔に書いて
It's
ある
written all over your faces.
嘘。
No way!
ここによ。
Where? Hey, what's going
中
on?
には見えないマ
If
ジ
you
ックが
tell
書
me
いて
it's
ある
written in
から
ink only morons can see,
殺す。
then that's super deaf for you. Lambda Delta pulled a mirror out of thin air, peered into it, and made a comical fuss. She was apparently playing the fool in her own special way.
エリカ
何ですか？
What is it?
前回の
The storm of red and blue from you and Lanor in the last game was spectacular.
どうも。
Thanks.
今回はドラノールは
What happened to Dlanor this
お前
time?
一人なの
Are you all by yourself?
いいえ、
No,
ここに控えて
I
ある
have been waiting here. Dlanor had been just standing around in reserve, hiding her presence in the dark shadows.
まあ、
Well,
赤き
when
たち
she
が使え
can't
ないドラノー
use her
ル
red
なんて
longsword,
役立たずのただのゲー
Dlanor
ム
is
化
just a useless puke spittle.
いても役に立た
There's
ない
no
ので
point having her around, so I've dropped her from the action.
今の私にできるのは
All I can do now is keep records of Lady Erika's reasoning.
どうしてお前も共に戦
Why
わない
won't you fight with
なぜ
her?
あの赤いたち
Why
が使え
can't
ない
you use the red
エ
longsword?
リカの推理
Erika's reasoning and your
それ
longsword.
らが組み合わさ
They
って
were
こそ
strong because they
あ
worked
の強さだ
together.
ったはず
Dlanor didn't answer. She just glanced lightly at Ben Castle's expression. However, the glance was the same as a clear answer for Butler now. Butler fully realized the situation.
お前か
You,
エリカに探偵宣言をしない
you're
よう
the
に
one
言
who
ったの
told Erika not to use the detective proclamation.
あら、
Huh?
何のこと？
Whatever do you mean?
これは
The
Ore to
fight is
Erika.
between me and Erika.
俺たちは全力で
We
戦
are
う
going to fight with all we've got.
だから勝ちも負け
That
も受け
way
入れ
we'll
られ
be
る
able to accept it, whether we win or
貴
lose.
様のような黒幕
There's no need for a puppeteer behind the scenes like you.
黒幕なんてひどいわね。
Come on, I'm no puppeteer.
私はただの
I'm just the theater goer trying to relieve her boredom.
感激者って
A theater goer is someone who sits quietly in the stand and
お
watches.
前のように
That's not what we call someone who jeers at the stage and threatens or manipulates the performers.
マナーのない客で
Sorry for being an ill-mannered patron.
あんたは知らないだ
You
ろう
might not know it, but I've
私はこ
already
の
paid
芝
a
居を見
huge
るために
admission fee to
すで
watch
に
this
高い
play.
入館料を払ってるのよ。悪いけど
Sorry, but I intend to enjoy it until I get my money's worth.
進行を邪魔するなら
If you get in the way of the game's progression, I can use my authority as the game master to boot you out of this game.
したければ
If you want to, go ahead.
私を追放
If
す
you
る
chase me out,
エリカ
I'll
は
head
私の
back
駒
with
だか
my
ら持って
piece,
帰る
Erika.
今回のゲーム
This
は
game
踊
will
る
be cancelled and
あ
you
んたは
won't be able
真
to
相に
prove
至った
that you've
ことを
reached
証明
the
でき
truth.
なくなる感激者は観
Theater
測
goers are
観
observers.
測者なき
A
真
witch
実は
with
幻
no
想とは
observers might as well be
あ
fantasy.
んたは
If you want to end Beato's game, you need a theater goer and an impartial witness.
俺た
Our
ちの真
truth is
実
between
俺た
us,
ちだけで
and
通
that's
用
all
す
it
ればいい
needs to be.
これ以上邪魔を
If
する
you're
な
going to interfere any further, I will
Further.
boot you out by force.
そして
Then you can ride around in your boredom for a few centuries until you find another way to kill time.
じゃあそうすれば
Then go right ahead.
エリカ
Erika, the game is over. Good work. You were completely useless. You weren't able to overturn the dishonor of your loss. So, as promised, I'll throw you in the worst fragment and cast you in the depths of oblivion with the empty popcorn buckets.
我が主、必ず勝利しますから、勝利できますから。ですからどうか最後までバトラと戦わせてください。このまま負けで忘却の支援なんて嫌です。
Wow, stai riuscendo a farmi provare un pizzico di empatia verso Erika. My master, I promise, I will win. I promise I can win. So please, let me fight Butler to the finish. I don't want to lose and get thrown in the depths of oblivion. Well, I'd like to watch your battle until the end, but Butler says he'll toss me out. Well, any ideas, Lambda? Okay. I realize you've been irritated ever since the last game, Ben, but calm down a bit. And Butler, don't provoke Bern so much. This kid can control her emotions sometimes. Shut up. Who can control her emotions? Ben Castle, who at one point in time had never shown any expressions at all, was now twisting her face into all kinds of displeased and ugly shapes. When Lambda Delta made fun of that, Ben Castle clicked her tongue and looked away. As they say, nothing can stop poison but poison. Apparently, Lambda Delta was the only one who couldn't rein Ben Castle in. Erika, you want to fight Butler, clear your name, and get Bern back into a good mood, right? Yes. Butler, you want this final game that'll prove you found the truth, to have a proper, tidy conclusion, right? Yeah. This is a face-off between me and Erika. I won't let anyone get in my way. And I won't let anyone get in Erika's way either. If both of you wish to fight, then that should be respected. Leave Ben to me. I'm the only one in the world who can calm that kid when she gets into a bad mood. You're the same sort as her, but at least you can be reasoned with. You shouldn't underestimate me. I just like seeing Ben grimace. It's the only reason I've taken a liking to this game of yours. If you go on thinking I'm easy to handle, you get worse than burned. Dall'autore can use a red longsword because the detective proclamation hasn't been made. If Erika makes that, she'll regain her power right away, right? Yes. When that time comes, forgive me.
Erika.
Erika, what? Make the detective proclamation. No. Do you really think you can beat me as I am now without... Do you really think you can beat me as I am now without the detective authority? I can win. Not Butler. Let Erika is herself a piece. She cannot disobey her master's orders. All she can do is gather the power permitted to her and fight for survival. And Dall'autore, your power can't be used at all without the detective's proclamation. In order to unsheath the red key, authorization is required. One of the preconditions for applying for the authorization is the detective proclamation. Is there any other way to obtain that authorization besides the detective proclamation? What are you saying?
私に情けをかけるつもりなら大きなお世話です。
If you're doing this out of pity for me, I don't need your help.
黙れ。
Quiet.
お前一人じゃ手応え
You're
が
no
なさすぎて
challenge on your
退屈
own, and it's boring me stiff.
探偵でない
So
探
zip
偵
it,
は
you
黙って。
non-detective detective.
石剣は赤
The
き
red
真実
key
と限
has
り
an
なく近
extremely
い
close
存在です。
relationship with the red truth.
真実が与えられれば
If,
その
and
剣につ
only
いて
if,
の
a
抜刀が
truth
許
is
されます。
provided, I am permitted to draw the red key for items that pertain to it.
真実と
What do you mean by a truth?
例えばですが、
For example,
エリカ卿
there
のガ
are
ムテ
Lady
ープの
Erika's
封印
duct tape seals.
ああれか
Those.
あの封印はすでに
Lady
レベル化してる
Berncastle
封印
had
と
already
赤き真
acknowledged
実と同等
that
の
those
価値が
seals are equivalent in value to the red truth.
よって封印に関わる
Therefore, I
真
am
実にかけて
authorized to draw the red
石剣の
key
抜刀が
for
許さ
truth
れる。
pertaining to those seals.
前回散々苦しめられたからな。今回は粘着力のあるガムテープを
Those caused me a lot of trouble last time, so I had all sticky duct tape removed from the game board this time around.
見事な一手です。
A splendid move.
エリカは
Erika was proud to be able to call herself the detective, wasn't she?
はい。
Yes.
謎を無責任
Though
に
her only goal was to irresponsibly reveal
彼女の
mysteries,
誇りです。
it was a matter of pride for her.
それが宣言で
Then
きないって
she
のは
must really be suffering now that she can't make that proclamation.
それを当人の
Only
中
she
で語る
could
ことは
tell
で
you
きません。
that. Only she could tell you that. Butler took a deep breath, then hung his head in thought for a time. Erika was his enemy, but she was the player on the human side, and without her there would be no game. He had been the same way with the old Beato. Butler had one-sidedly viewed Beato as the enemy. However, though Beato had thought of him as the opposing player, she had considered him to be an enemy on a personal level. I will fight my rival ruthlessly in accordance with the rules. However, that doesn't mean I need to hate Furudo Erika herself. I will not misplay Beato's game.
エリカ、探偵宣言を出さないのはだからお前は
Erika,
お前の
you're free not to make the detective proclamation, so do whatever you want and fight me with just your human powers.
最初からその覚悟
I've
で
been
す。
prepared to do that from the very beginning.
しかし
However, you have talented people on your side.
ドラノールに
Lanor, Gertrude,
Gertrude.
and Cornelia.
コーネリア、お前は一人じゃない。
You aren't alone.
仲間がいる。
You have allies.
頼り
Except
な
that
くて
they're
もあの力がない
unreliable, powerless, and useless puke spittle.
ドラノール、
Lanor,
かつての俺が
just like I was supported by Virgilia and Donova in the past, Erika needs support as well.
人間側が辛い。
I know from repeated experience that playing for the human side is tough.
はい。
Yes,
持てる力の限りで
I
お
will
世話し
assist
ます。
her with all the power I possess.
近景
For your
了解する
attention,
ものなり。
we are in agreement.
近景職務であると
For
知
your
りたまえ。
attention, know that that is our job.
赤き真実も
You
使え
can't
ないく
even
せ
use
に
the。red truth.
エリカ、お
Erika,
前でなく、
I will give power not to you, but to your allies.
はあ？何の真似ですか？
What do you think you're
お前
doing?
の情けなんて
I'd
死んで
rather
も見ま
die
せん。
than receive your pity.
ドラノール、ガートル
For
ー
the three of Dlanor,
Cornelia,
Gertrude, and Cornelia,
お
Erika,
前に
I will allow you to use 3 rooms worth of those duct tape seals. Huh. To fully seal one room, multiple seals are needed to cover all doors and windows. If he had just said 3 seals, she would have only been able to fully seal up one room at best. So Butler was generous and measured them by room instead of by seal.
バトラ卿。
この封印には赤き真実と同じ効果があることを。
As the Game Master, I will also acknowledge that these seals have the same effect as the Red Truth.
そうすれば
This way, you'll also be able to wield the red longsword in battles based around those seals.
そうだな。
Right?
はい。
Yes.
しかし、
But
よろしいの
you certain?
探偵未満のエリカに勝っても
Winning against Erika was when she's less than a detective is hardly a
エ
victory.
リカがレートを上
If
げるなら
Erika upping the stakes, then I should have them right to do the same. If Erika's if Erika is upping the stakes, then I should have the right to do the same.
ヒューン
Oh, what a man!
よかったじゃない
Aren't you
エリカ
lucky, Erika?
これで探偵宣
Now
言
you
を出して
can use a bit of red
ある種の危険を損ねずに
without
多少は
making the
後も後に
detective
伝えるようになった
proclamation
わ
and irritating your master.
後悔しますよ
You. Blah, blah, blah. You'll regret this. These 3 seals
封印
will
が
be your death.
上等だ。
Sounds like fun.
来い。
Come and kill me.
コロ。
Scusate, ho avuto un momento di vibing con la musica. Though it was only for 3 rooms, it was the red truth that Erika had been dying to use. Now she's finally had enough leeway to fight as she pleased. She ground her teeth at being pitied by Butler, and her tears were not those of shame.
了解です3部屋分の封印のガムテープを受領いたします
Understood. 3 rooms worth of duct tape seals. Accepted.
その受領ですがエリカ卿が
Regarding this matter, should we consider them as being accepted retroactively back when Lady Erika received the non-sticky duct tape from Mr. Kumasawa? Erika had borrowed duct tape from Kumasawa to make those seals with. However, Butler had made it so that they were not sticky. If he made it so that there never was any problem with the stickiness of that duct tape, the transition could be made smoothly.
ああ、いいだろう。
Sure, that's fine. Bello però. Quindi ci fanno i cambiamenti in corso d'opera.
物語を書き直す。
Sure, that's fine. I'll rewrite the tale.
初日の深夜に
The duct tape that Erika received from Kumasawa-san late at night on the first day was sticky enough to work as a seal, but there was only enough left to use on 3 rooms.
これを
I applied that from here on out.
了解しました
Understood.
エリカ卿も遡り
Lady Erika will also retroactively adjust her movements starting before the discovery of the first twilight, and taking into account that the application of this privilege is now possible.
ゲーム進行に抵触する
As
部分
soon
が
as
発生
these
し次第
changes affect the progression of the game, they will be reported to the game master.
事件がどの部屋で起こったかを知って
Letting you do it retroactively, even though you know which rooms the crime will occur in,
有利な話。
that gives you a pretty big advantage.
無駄な部屋を封印
You
し
won't
なくて
have
済
to
む。
waste tape on other rooms.
ゲームマスターになって
You seem you've grown quite arrogant since becoming game master. You're having fun, aren't you?
無様な対戦
Giving out charity to your pathetic opponent.
黙れ。
Quiet.
そして勘違いす
And
る。
don't
これ
misunderstand.
はおごりでも。
I'm not being arrogant or going easy on
エ
her.
リカ。
Erika, use this weapon and fight me with all of your strength.
だからこそ俺も
And I will
本気で
crush you
叩き
with
潰して
all of mine.
だから胸を張って
So hold your head
この
high
3
and
回を
use
行使
those 3.
以上だ。
That is all. Stavo per dirlo, questo suono mi fa pensare Butler che si gira la cape e se ne va. Butler had made to leave the room with a flick of his cape. As he did, he thought he heard Erika let out a strained voice calling him to a stop.
なんだ
What is it?
用がないならいい。
You have no business with me. I'm going.
ドラノールとよく相談
Make
し
sure you talk with Lanor. Don't listen to those obnoxious witches, whatever they tell you. As long as they're on this game board, they'll obey my rules.
ありがとう
Oh, abbiamo un arigato.
ありがとう私
Thank you.
で戦います
I'll fight with all I've got
全力で戦い
and
ます
come at you with all of my strength.
だから
So, I'll defeat
絶
you
対
no
お前
matter
にやっ
what.
つけますから
So,
だから
if you do win against me, please
叩き潰してください
crush me with all of your strength.
お願いだから
Please,
塵一つ
don't leave a speck of me behind. Butler, ma certo che a fare promesse di uccidere donne sei bravissimo, eh? È già la seconda, che prometti di ammazzare. You got it. Don't you go easy on me either. This is the final game. I'm playing to prove to Beato that I've reached the truth. At this point, who wins and who loses had no effect on that. I've accepted you as a worthy adversary, so now I simply want to settle the score. In the game, let us suspect each other over everything as enemies, but as fellow players, let's trust each other. That's how this game is supposed to be played.
ありがとうありがとう
E poi Butler reparted into the darkness, became a cloud of gold butterflies and vanished. Erika remained behind, sobbing.
なんてね
Just kidding.
ちょろいもんですバカな男まんまと引っかかって私にガムテープを渡しましたねこのフルダエリカにガムテープを
Your easy pickings, you stupid man. You fell right for it and gave me the tape. You gave the great Furudo Erika duct tape. It was so hard to imagine that the person who had been sobbing pathetically and this person now were the same individual. That's how vile her face contorted to be. The two witches were also cackling with ugly smiles.
わかるわ
I totally feel him.
ゲームマスターにな
When you
ると
become game master, it feels like you've become God, and you get all sure of yourself, you know.
ラムダの時もそうだ
It was the same for you, wasn't it, Lambda?
歩く死体
You lost because you made a bonehead mistake involving walking corpses.
バカなゲーム
Bonehead game masters, bonehead blunders, bonehead arrogance, bonehead beatings, bonehead butler, billions of boneheads.
バカな敗北バカバトラバカバカ
Bonehead beatings, bonehead bundler, billions of boneheads.
なんだか語呂がいいです
I like the way it rolls off the tongue.
我が主
Nice one, my master.
バカバトラバカバッカバカバトラバカバッカバカバトラのやつ本気でエリカが不利だと思ってるなら
If that baka butler honestly thinks that Erika is at a disadvantage, then it was nice knowing
バカ
him.
を殺すの
A
に
detective proclamation isn't what you need to kill an idiot.
豆腐の角
Just a corner of tofu for them to hit their head on.
絹ごしですね
Make that soft tofu.
それにコチュジャンを乗せる
Add
と
some gochujang chili paste and you've got a snack that go great with some wine. The three giggled together. It had all been an act to get the duct tape for the seals from Butler. Even though he had taken pains to ensure that the duct tape that had tormented him so much in the last game was rendered unusable in this one, he had fallen for Erika's act, and she had gotten what she wanted, even if it was only 3 rooms worth. The illusion that Erika was at an overwhelmingly disadvantage was just an act, a trap to trick Butler and make him hand over the duct tape. With this, I can kill Butler perfectly. I figured out his moronic locked rooms long ago. A perfect locked room? Dumbass. I'll show you a real perfect locked room. And I could cry for joy at the fact that you gave me the weapon that will finish you. My master and Lady Lambda Delta, thank you so much for assisting with my performance. It was fun. No need to thank me. Plus, I wasn't acting. Despite getting the feeling that Ben Castle had just said something a little curious, Erika was into high spirits to care. That pudding for brains moron thinking he had done something so noble, I'll make you regret it. Alright, let's use these seals to our leisure. You were a great help too, Dlanor. It seems that Butler trusts you, so he believes every word you say. Don't tell me your conscience is hurting. You little murder dog. No. Dlanor looked at Erika in a slightly lonely way. Then, after shaking her head slightly, her gaze turned hard and she looked at the darkness Butler had disappeared into. You knew that this was a no-holds-barred fight. Foolish Butler. This is, without a doubt, the result of your arrogance. Mr. Butler, this will prove fatal. È vero, Jover, è vero. First of all, congratulations are in order, wouldn't you say, Furfur? Yes, because we have learned that each and every one of the lovers possess a strong will. This is a victory for love. That we shall celebrate. Everyone had long since gotten used to those two overdramatic demons. George spoke quietly with an annoyed expression. We'll only celebrate that after we've passed your trial and someone has been given the miracle of magic. I agree. We all passed the first trial. What's next? I won't hold back anymore. I'll do whatever it takes. Yes, we won't lose. Neither we will. Will we? Yeah, and of course, the same goes for Butler's Kun group. Of course. I doubt anyone here is so naive that they hope to win by having others relinquish victory. Right. Anyone weak enough to drop out wouldn't be qualified to be here right now. Even Beato, who seemed to be the shakiest of the 6, was strongly determined. The two demons nodded, taking note of the 6's continued resolve. So, what's the next trial? Don't tell me you still haven't decided. Well, we thought at least some of you would drop out. We didn't think that all of you would remain. This is a happy, miraculous miscalculation due to love. Damn it. So, are we going to play musical chairs or something to make sure someone drops out this time? Yes, precisely that. We've decided to make this trial eliminate one group no matter what. For this trial, we will borrow from the second twilight of the epitaph. Tear apart the two who are close. I don't understand. Zephyr-sama, Urfur-sama. What sort of trial is this? Do you mean we're going to kill each other? That will settle things quickly. Though it's not exactly civilized. Love is carnivorous. Guarda che faccia che c'ha. We can't all just find happiness together, can't we? This is what they call a zero-sum game. It's an economic term, but maybe you've heard of it? No. My apologies. In a zero-sum game, all the wins and losses cancel out to zero. In order for someone to win, someone else must be forced to lose. It's the ruthless way of this world. If only everyone could be happy. But I guess there's no way an ideal world like that could exist. No, there is. That is the Golden Land. Golden Land? What are you talking about? That's right. If you reach the Golden Land, all love will be satisfied. However, like heaven and hell, that's not a place in this world. That's an offer I would have to refuse. Love has meaning because we find it in this world. I could never support a sad lover's double suicide where we will be united after death. I will see my love through, alive. I won't lose to anyone. Georgie-san. The door to the Golden Land is opened by solving the epitaph's riddle. It is said to be a place where love and lies are all whole and can be revived. We're straying from that point. Well, we're straying from the point. Tell us about the second trial already. Right. What you're trying to make us do with the tear apart the two who are close thing. Aspetta che ho sbagliato a leggere. What are you trying to make us do with the tear apart the two who are close thing? That is quite simple. The only possible way to tear apart two lovers is by the sad farewell of death. The second trial is to kill one of the six. Of course, any lover with their partner killed is disqualified. In short, one pair of lovers must drop out during this trial. You say kill so simply. What are we supposed to do? You can fight to the death, or you can decide by lottery of some sort. Like hell, we're gonna choose to draw by drawing lots. Let's have a duel, fair and square. Though, if we do that, I imagine that Butler-kun, who is the game master, and Beatrice, who is still the Golden Witch despite having no memory, will have a substantial advantage. L'hai detto per un secondo, cioè proprio la battuta prima l'hai detta, Giove, cazzo. Well, I wonder about that. Don't worry. For this trial, we have made everyone's power completely equal. If the Game Master, Lord Butler, is taking this trial on an even footing with everyone else.
れなら
In that case,
公平ですね。
fair.
完全に純粋
Is
に
it
互角な
completely and purely even?
え
Yes,
完全に互角
perfectly even.
1対1なら
In a one-on-one fight, the luck of the moment would determine the outcome.
完全に互角だから
Oh,
ね
as all is perfectly equal.
決着にも時間がかか
It'll
ると
probably
思う
take a
わ。
while to finish this fight. To finish a fight.
だから
So perhaps the tricks would be to attack in advantageous circumstances.
とことん時間を
Duels
かけて
can
の決闘
take
も
some.
もちろん素敵。
Duels that take time are, of course, wonderful too.
誰が運任せで
Why
戦う
would
もんか。
anyone leave it up to luck?
自分に有利な
Of
条
course, we
件
want
で
to
戦う
fight
こと
to
に
be
決まってるぜ。
we want the fight to be in our favor.
となると
In that case, a three-way
これ
struggle?
では
Wouldn't that mean that we'd all be stuck? Beato was the first to notice. If all six of them were truly on an even footing, and they wanted to fight so they could win, they would have to fight as pairs and concentrate their attacks on a single person. However, if they did so, that person's partner would naturally join in to fight back as a pair. In other words, it would never end up being as a 2 against 1. It would be 2 against 2, and a battle like that could go either way. However, if that were to happen, the third pair watching all of this could team up with whichever pair they liked with no risk to themselves, defeating the opposing pair with certainty. È vero.
面倒な話だね
Sounds
先に
troublesome.
動く
It means that it isn't to your advantage to move first. If you take the initiative to fight, it's a matter of luck. If you sit and wait for the others to start fighting, it's certain victory. The fight would never begin in a circumstance like this.
6 人
In
全員がそ
circumstances
れぞ
like
れ
this.
隣同士だ。
Maybe we could just have everyone fight the person next to them on one-on-one.
誰かの決着がつい
Then
た
as
時
soon
点
as
で
one fight is settled, the
Shit.
trial will be over. Unless everyone could abandon any naive hopes for a 2-on-1 fight, this trial would never begin and never end. In that case, they could make a gentleman's agreement and have everyone duel at once, which would be no different from drawing lots, but at least it would be fair.
それは無理。
That won't work.
そうなったら
If we do that, everyone will just defend instead of fighting proactively.
その間に
All they need to do is wait for someone to lose before they do. Shannon's point was a sound one. If both fighters just glared at each other without attacking, then neither would lose. They would only have to wait for someone other than themselves to lose first. This brought them back to the starting point. No one would fight proactively.
結局全
In
員
the
が
end,
動
no
かず
one will move and nothing will be resolved.
全員の強さが
Since we're in this mathematical situation where all we have, since we're in this mathematical situation where we all have the same strength, it's almost like a puzzle.
そうだね
True.
互いの強さが未知数
Dueling would have been an interesting proposition if our strengths were unknown. However, since we've been told that we are perfectly even, a duel would be no different than a rock, paper, scissors.
ならいっそ
In that case, why not use rock, paper, scissors to decide it?
バカ言え
Are you crazy? No, I'm not gonna do that.
仮に誰かが負けた
Even
と
if
して
someone does lose, there's no way they'll accept their loss.
負けを認めないの
If they don't accept it, then they will be attacked by the 4
完
winners.
全に互角なこ
In a
の世界
world where all are equal, the losers will have no chance of surviving.
確か
True.
になんだなんだじゃんけんで決めるのが
It's
一番
rock,
合
paper,
理的だ
scissors
ってのか
actually the most reasonable way to settle this?
極めて合理的だよ
It is extremely reasonable. However, if we were to ask me whether I'd be reckless enough to entrust my fate to a random number generator, the answer would be no.
どうかそれを悩んで
Please do
ほしい
consider that problem.
それが私たちの出
This is the second trial we have set for you.
考えて殺し合って
Think and fight to the death.
誰を生贄に
Please
するか
decide
決めてほしい
who the sacrifice will be. Adesso posso rispondere un pochino alle domande che mi avete fatto prima. Allora, no, non avevo sentito questa cosa di Jojo doppiato in italiano, tanta roba, molto figo. E... A small contradiction. E... no, non c'è Butler and the Sorcerer. True, it isn't unthinkable. The servants are the most suspicious.
物的証拠があるわけではありませんから
Isn't it as though we
縛っ
have
てクローゼットに
any,
放り
it
込む
isn't
わけ
as
にも
though
い
we
きま
have
せん
any physical evidence, so we can tie them up and throw them in a
ですから
closet.
銃を
So
持った
we
皆
need
さ
to
んが
make
常
sure
に
that
目
they
に
are
届くところ
always
に置いて
within
よく
within
見張
sight
る
of
必要
those
がある
with
んです
guns, and that we keep an eye on them all the time.
兄貴
Aniki,
マスター
we
キ
should
ーを回
also
収した方
gather
がいい
gather the master
あの
key.
密室も
Only the
使用人た
servants
ち以
could
外
have
には作れ
created
るわけがない
those locked
使
rooms.
用人たちしか知らない
They
構造
must
や
have done something with the chain locks during some
Kitchen
tool,
lock
using some tool or setup that only the servants know about.
皆を長く
They
勤めてく
all
れ
have
ている
served
者
with
ばか
us
り
for a long time.
私には
I can hardly imagine
彼ら
that
が
they
殺
would
人を犯
commit
すとは
murder.
思えん
I hear that Kinzo-san is not long for this world, and that inheritance problem is still very shaky. In addition, there's the story about the 10 tons of gold being hidden somewhere. A possible payoff like that might be enough to convince certain people to commit a crime.
考えたくはないが
I don't want to think about it, but there's also a chance that the old bastard is running some bizarre occult ritual.
片翼の使用人た
The
ちは親
servants
父
of
の
the
手先
One Wing are his pawns,
の実
and
行
they
者
might have been the ones, and they might have been the ones to carry out the
親父は
murders.
どうなんだ
How about that anyway?
まだ連絡は
Have
取れ
you
ない
been
のか
able to contact him yet? No,
内線電話も
we
通
aren't
じない
getting through on the extension line
犯
either.
人に壊されたの
The
かもしれない
culprits might have broken it.
それに親父殿は
Father does often leave the
電話の
receiver
受話
off
器
the
を外
hook
しているこ
when
と
he's in a
が
bad
よく
mood.
ノックをしても
When I knocked,
付近
I
に
only
返事が
received
あ
a
る
grumpy reply.
連絡は取れないあの書斎はシェルターどうせ
We can't contact him, so the study is well protected.
むしろ安全だから
It is probably safer there, so it might be best to save him. So it might be best to have him stay there. Flustered, Kraus tried to explain away Kinzel's silence. Butler, the game master, had made Kinzel's death a major theme for this game, so the conversation didn't go any further. They stopped talking about Kinzel without Rudolph thinking anything was particularly suspicious.
いずれにせよ使用人
Anyway,
たちを野放
we
し
can
には
let
で
the
きない
servants out of sight, out of our sights.
それでさっき秀吉兄さんとも
I
相
just
談し
had
た
a
んだが
talk with Hideyoshi Nisan about this, and we decided to split everyone into 2 rooms upstairs and hole up in there.
なぜ2部屋なのか
Why 2 rooms?
1部屋の方が心強い
Would
と
one, just one would be more secure.
さすがに
Well,
一
if we
部屋
try
に
to
12
stick
人も
12
人間
people
が
in
窒
one
息しま
room,
す
we'd
そ
suffocate.
して
Plus,
最も
I
注
want
意
to
すべき
isolate the
人物だけ
people
を
we need
隔
to
離したい
keep
と
the
いう思
closest
惑があ
eye
りま
on.
す使用人の頭
There's
である
Genji,
源氏
the
さん
head of the servants.
一番体
There's
格のいい
Koda-san,
方
who's
です
who's larger than any of
若
us.
輩とはいえ
And though he may be
カノンさんも男性で
young,
す
Kanon-kun is... Kanon-san is male too. Che vuol dire?
この3人を
I think we need to pay those 3 special attention,
そ
Haniki.
こでこの3人
This
を
way
隔
we
離
can
し
isolate
俺と
that
兄貴で
room,
監視する
and you and I can keep a close eye on
2
them.
丁の銃
With 2 guns, the pair of us could cooperate on any moment, on a moment's notice.
少しでもおかし
If
な
they
動
make
きを
even
見
a
せた
single suspicious move, boom.
わかった
All right, let's do that.
だがルドルフ
But
彼ら
Rudolph,
が犯人
we
であ
can
る
be
と決まった
certain
わ
that
けで
they
は
are the culprits.
あまり高圧的
Don't
に
be
は
too
なる
pushy.
兄貴
You're telling me not. You're telling me not to be too
に
pushy.
そりゃ俺たちも
We
老ける
must
わ
be
けです
getting old.
今
Right now, Hideyoshi-san is upstairs, dividing everyone into 2 rooms.
隔離者たちをいと
The
こ
ones being isolated will collect into the cousin room, and the others will go into the next room over.
そうだ兄貴
Ah, right, Aniki. What about Jessica-chan?
兄貴と一緒の部屋がいい
She insists on being in the same room as you.
ジェシカ
Jessica. We were planning to have 5 people in the cousin's room and 7 in the adjacent room. If Jessica-san wants to go to the cousin's room, it'll be split clean down the middle. It'll be split clean down the middle. If this was a wolf and sheep puzzle, there are currently 3 servant wolves and 2 sheep in that room. I think adding in Jessica-san would be a good idea to balance things out. For a while, Kraus crossed his arms and thought. The cousin's room would surely be more dangerous, so he wanted his daughter to go in the next room over. However, in an emergency situation like this, he also wanted to keep his daughter where he could see her. Let's let her stay with us. We might need her there to make sure we remain good dad and uncles. Yes, I'm keeping up a pretense of rationality right now, but I can guarantee that my sadness of losing my wife won't change to anger. Even without any physical evidence, the servants were certainly the most suspicious. During the long haul ahead of these 2 men, their weariness and anger and sadness could make them lose their reason and act out of anger. After thinking deeply, Kraus decided to accept Jessica's request, in part to prevent this from happening. Vabbè. I think that's a good idea. I am in favor. I agree. It's enough that only Rosa and I lose children. Rudolph. In this way, all of the survivors excepting Kinzo would split into groups and hold up in accepting Kinzo. Vabbè, ok. Non l'avevo mai sentito usato in questa maniera. Si imparano cose nuove. In this way, all the survivors, excepting Kinzo, split into 2 groups and holed up in 2 rooms on the guest house 2nd floor. One group was in the cousin's room: Kraus, Rudolph, Jessica, Genji, Kanon, Goda. 6 people. One group was in the next room over: Hideyoshi, George, Shannon, Kumasawa, Nanjo, Erika. 6 people here too. Perhaps as the result of the killer's doing, the external phone line had been cut off, and they would have to wait for the ferryboat coming the next day before they could contact the police. However, the weather report had said that the sea would be stormy throughout the next day because of the typhoon. When that happens, the ferryboat takes the day off, so it would probably be 2 days before the boat came. In other words, they were going to have to spend a full 2 nights holed up in here. While Erika and the others held their planning meeting in the lounge, food and blankets had been brought in to prepare for the long road ahead. The sudden tragedy had everyone on edge, but it was already well after 2 a.m. If they really suspected the servants, then the observers couldn't afford to fall asleep at the same time. Either Kraus or Rudolph should probably take a nap right away. Not bad. Even without the detective's authority, you've managed to control things very skillfully. A man who's lost his cool is no different from an agitated dog. If you treat them properly, it's easy to control them. One of the benefits of the detective's authority was being able to take charge of the situation. This ability was the reason that Erika had been able to order a large group of adults around at will, in spite of being both an uninvited guest and a young girl. However, she didn't have that power this time, so Erika had taken charge by making good use of her natural conversation skills and techniques for controlling men. The detective's authority is the same as magic. It can't do what you can't do. So, Erika's authority was only recognized because she already had that much talent. Magic is not something that is given to lazy or powerless humans.
そうだ。
Right.
むしろ
On the contrary, people who can hide their great efforts are the one we call witches. The absolute nature of the detective's authority could even act as magic. However, it didn't seem as though Erika had done nothing to earn that convenient power. I probably need to accept it. Even when she isn't given any special powers by the witch she serves, she is very competent on her own.
しかしエリカ
But Erika, why did you split them into 2 rooms? I was thinking that you were going to gather everyone into 1 room.
探偵権限があ
I
れば
would
そうし
have
ました
if I had the detective authority.
自由
This is
捜査
my
権を
move,
確保するために
move to preserve my right to investigate at will.
あ
So that's it.
あなるほ
I see. Not bad. Since Erika was being protected as a guest, it was hard for her to move about freely. In truth, she wanted to take some time to reinvestigate the crime scenes at her leisure without being interrupted by anyone. She had already inspected the scenes once as she ran through the mansion, but that probably wasn't perfect. However, they wouldn't have let a guest into the crime scenes, though that had been her only option back then. She wanted some time for herself, and freedom to investigate more, in part so that she could check the locked rooms and causes of death more closely.
それが
How is this related to splitting everyone into 2 rooms and having them stay there?
どそこは奴が
That's where her silver tongue will come into play. Watch.
ええ
Yes,
そのため
that's the
だけ
only
に
reason I
二
split
部
them
に
into
分け
2
たので
rooms.
すから
The cousins' room was filled with a quiet tension. This room had 6 people: Kraus, Jessica, and Rudolph. And then the most suspicious ones, the male servants, Genji, Kanon, and Goda, who had been forced to hold up in the... Jessica leaned against Kraus' shoulder, wrapped up in a blanket. She was drowsy, but apparently couldn't get to sleep. It was no surprise. In this bizarre situation, it would probably take a lot longer before she could accept her mother's death. Canon thought that this was the sort of time he should stay by Jessica's side, but that looked like it would be hard to do in front of Rudolph's intimidating glare. Rudolph stayed completely silent, but his inner emotions showed clearly in his eyes. So without even asking, Genji, Kanon, and Goda all understood that they were under suspicion. Sometimes Goda would ask if he could help in an attempt to correct his misunderstanding, but that seemed to have the opposite effect. The only good option available to him was to stay quiet so that he didn't aggravate Rudolph and sit still at the end of the sofa. In the next room over, there were also 6 people: Erika, Hideyoshi, George, Shannon, Nanjo, and Kumasawa. The format of the room and the suffocating atmosphere were the same as in the cousin's room, but even so, it was relatively calm there. Oh, Andrew ha capito qualcosa. George sat holding Shannon, who was hanging her head despondently the whole time. Kumasawa and Nanjo sat nervously as they listened to Hideyoshi explain the situation. We don't know how many enemies are there. However, we've got a gun right here. And of course, I've shot one before. Not talking about the Hawaii shooting center here. It's been a long time. It's been long enough that I can confess, but I once defiantly fired off one of them occupying forces pistols. You see, back then, the black market was controlled by foreign gangsters. He probably wanted to make everyone feel secure by convincing them that he could be relied upon. Hideyoshi went into one of his old stories that everyone had heard many times, and they had gotten more extravagant each time they heard it. It didn't make them any more confident in Hideyoshi's abilities, but it did seem to calm things down a little by bringing in some sense of normality. Why has a crime like this happened? I hope the boat can come tomorrow. Seems unlikely. It looks as though we'll be staying here for 2 nights. Now it's a good time to get some sleep. I don't have the nerves to sleep soundly in a situation like this. Georgie-sama. The pain and anger of losing his mother quietly tormented George. Sleepiness probably wouldn't be coming to him for a while. Erika suddenly clapped her hands as though she had just remembered something, then whispered in Hideyoshi's ear, interrupting the old story, which he had grown very engrossed with. Sorry, I'm just going to the cousin's room for a second. There's one little thing I need to check on with the servants over there. Can't you use the phone? You just need to dial the room number. Oh, have you forgotten? It seems that the culprit has broken the telephone lines. What's this? Are you saying you found some kind of contradiction in their statements? Erika created a strong impression with a detective-like behavior up to this point. So, Hideyoshi immediately assumed that this was something vital to do with the crime. It'll be easy to check, but it might open up a much larger scene. I'll be quick about it. Please don't let anyone leave this room. Even if you're going next door, it's dangerous to go alone. You're sure you don't want to take someone with you? We cannot fully trust the servants or Anjo-san. You're in charge of this room, and George-san is needed to support you. We cannot spare anyone. Don't worry, the detective never gets attacked. Erika had already worked hard to look like a sharp, clear-headed person. Hideyoshi relaxed and agreed, thinking that it was just next door and wouldn't be a problem. If I'm not back in an hour, no. It's probably better if you don't wander around too much. I'll stay over there until morning. It'll be better if I wait until it gets light before I come back. Good thinking. Be careful. Let's go into the next room over. Take good care of this room. Please, don't let anyone go outside. We've already brought everything we might need into this room to ensure there's no reason to leave. Food, drinks, blankets, medicine, towels, tissue paper, everything. The women also had their cosmetic pouches. They could spend 48 hours without being short of any physical goods. I know. We aren't just here to protect ourselves. We are also on the lookout for the culprit, if he is among us. I understand. Good desu. Goodbye then. Where are you going, Erika-chan? We promised that no one would go outside. Erika-chan remembers something important she had to do. She's going next door. Don't worry, she'll be fine. Hideyoshi suspected that Shannon might be one of the culprits, since he also knew that Shannon and George had a special relationship. He apparently thought it would be prudent to mislead George about Erika's action and motives. Hideyoshi slowly opened the door and checked both ways down the corridor, his gun raised. It's okay, no one's here. That's far enough. For all we know, Shannon-chan might take George-san hostage as soon as you leave the room. Right? It's careless even now to show your back to them, as you're doing now. You're right. Then be careful. Tell me all about it later.
はい
Sure.
それでは
Bye then. Pushing Hideyoshi back inside, Erika closed the door. She then waited for the sound of the lock on the inside, and her smiling eyes slowly opened wide. Her expression had become ruthless and intelligent. With this, Erika had managed to obtain a period of several hours, during which all of the suspects were sealed up, and she alone was free.
ようやく自由捜査権を得ました
Finally, I can investigate to my heart's content.
その前に
But first,
後ろ宮バトラ
フルネームで呼ぶな
don't use my full name.
ここで登場人物
Allow me to
全員の
confirm the
所在確認を
locations
させ
of
て
all
ください
characters
復
present.
唱要求です
Repetition requested.
無論これ
Of
にも
course,
答える
I'm
理由
not
はねえ
obligated to respond, remember?
その場合は
If you don't,
私が
I'll
見て
just say
ない
that
間に
someone
目を抜け出
sneaked
し
out while I
その
wasn't
人物が
looking, and
今
that
後
this
起こるだろう
person
不
was
思議な事件の実
responsible
行
for
者
the
だと
bizarre
主張し
crimes
き
that
るだ
are
けです
sure to follow.
不可能犯罪を見
If
せ
you
たい
want
な
to show me an impossible murder, you should first confirm their locations.
いいだろ
Sure, why
う
not?
一応は聞いてや
I'll
る
listen, at
聞い
least.
てみろ
Let me hear it.
いとこ部屋に対し
From now on, let's defer to the room next to the cousins as the next room over.
よろしいです
Does that work for you?
わかりやすい
That's easy to remember. You got it.
それで
And
今からする所在確
and
認
when I check the character's location as I'm about to do, I'm not concerned with whether they are alive or dead.
体の所在と
Think of this as the location of their
そし
body,
てもちろん
and of course, I'm referring to the current point in time.
では参ります
Here we go.
第一の番の
The
犠牲者6人の所在は
six first
発見
Twilight
場所の通りで
victims
ある
are located at the places where they were discovered.
夏日は自室
Natsuri is in her room, Eva in the VIP room, Kirie is in Kraus' room, Rosa and Maria in the parlor, and you are in the guest room.
まさかこの
Don't
時
tell
点で
me
も
you're
うこの
already
程度の
going
こ
to
とも復唱
decline.
拒否ですか
いいぜ
Don't
そ
worry,
れを認める
I acknowledge it. First off, it was acknowledged that the victims' locations were the same as the rooms that had been shown by the witch's side illusion.
ぐっと続けます
I'll continue.
隣部屋に所在
George,
するのは
Hideyoshi,
秀吉、ジョージ、
Shannon, Kumasawa, and
Kumasawa,
Nanjo are in the
Nanjo
next
de
room over.
認める
Acknowledged. The people in the room Erika had just left had been specified. It was the role of the human side to check every one of those seemingly obvious little details.
ぐっと続けます
I'll
い
continue.
とこ部屋に所在す
Everyone
るの
else
は
is in the
そ
cousin's
れ
room.
以外の全員である
The word everyone drew a slight reaction from Butler. The intuition he had built up from all of his previous games told him not to answer this one instantly.
拒否する
I
それを
declined.
認めるっていうと
Acknowledging that would
金
mean
蔵
that
の遺体
Kinzo's
も
body
い
would
とこ部屋
also
の
be
中
in
に
the
あるって
cousin's
論法
room.
になっちまうからな
失礼
Pardon me.
金蔵はすでに存在
It
しないことが
already,
確定
it
して
has
い
already
ます
been
か
shown
ら
that Kinzo no longer exists, so please remove him from the word everyone. Sì, sì, oh, sei on fire, Jover, stasera.
なぜいとこ部屋だけ
Why are you
全員
using the
と
word,
言い
the word everyone for the cousin's room
クラ
alone?
ウス以下6
You
人の名
could
前を
just
こいつに
mention
挙
the
げて
name of
謝
Kraus
罪
and
確
the
認をす
other
ればいい
five individually.
なぜそんなアバウ
So
ト
why are you being so vague?
6人の名前を
It
いちい
just,
ち読み上げるのが
it
面倒
would
くさ
just
い
be
から
too much of a pain to read out all of their names.
それとも何
Or is there something wrong?
全員と
Does
い
the
う言葉だと
using the word
何か問題があるトリ
everyone
ックで
create a
も
problem with
あ
some
るん
of
ですか
with some trick of yours? If Butler had been told to repeat Kraus, Rudolph, Jessica, Genji, Goda, and Kanon are in the cousin's room, he would probably have responded with the red without thinking too much about it. Yes, normally. Erika would have mentioned the same. Yes, normally, Erika would have mentioned the name of each person inside and had him repeat it precisely. Butler hesitated. Butler hesitated to repeat, feeling some kind of unease because of the use of the word everyone.
私と金蔵を除き17人いる島で6人が殺されて屋敷に横たわり、隣部屋に5人がいるとなれば、残る6人はいとこ部屋にいる。これが正常な考えでしょ。
Excluding Kinzo and me, there are 17 people on this island. 6 were killed and are lying in the mansion, and 5 are in the next room over, which means the remaining 6 are in the cousin room. This would be the normal way of thinking of things.
しかし
However,
17人いる島だから
it is extremely dangerous to assume that because there are 17 people on the island, if we subtract 6, then 5 and then 6 again, that means we are left with 0 humans whose locations have not been checked.
バトラさんも
I'm pretty sure that this sort of trick involving names and number of people caused you a lot of trouble with Nanjo's murder in the third game.
そうだな。
Good
あの
point.
時のトリックは
The trick worked because the 18 names given didn't match up with the 18 people who actually existed,
未知の人物が
leaving
混入する
room
余
to
地
add
を
in an
許している
unknown person.
そういうことです。
Exactly.
ですから、
And
名
so
前だ
I
けでの
can't
所
feel
在確
secure
認は
just
安
by
心でき
checking
ない
their
わけです。
locations and
そこ
by
で私
name.
は全員
That's
という
why
言
I
葉を
use the
採用する
word
ことにしました。
everyone.
この言葉は
That
まだ
word
私
can
が想像
prevent you
もして
from
い
using
な
a
い
new
バ
trick
トラ
that
さ
I
んが
haven't
新しい
even
トリッ
thought
ク
of.
を未然に防ぐことさえできるのです。
なるほ
Naruhodo.
ど。うまいやり方だぜ。
Pretty crafty of you. If Butler was planning a new trick like the one used for the murder of Nanjo in the third game, where the names and number of people would be used to create false alibis, then even naming off all 17 people and checking their positions left a trace of uncertainty behind. And if he skillfully managed to slip somebody past the names and numbers of people...
例えばですが、
No, non ho capito l'ultima frase. And if he skillfully managed to slip somebody past the names and number of people... Ah, ok, vabbè. Lascia al reader concludere, vabbè, ok. For example, let's say that an unknown assassin X is hiding on the island.
仮にその X の名をプルプルピコマルと名付けましょう。
Let's call him Puro Puro Pico Man.
なるほどな。
I see.
全員の名を挙げて所
Even
在確認
if
をしても
you list everyone's name and check their locations, this Puro Puro Pico Man guy would fall outside the net.
そういうことです。
Precisely.
この島には17
Even
人しかい
hearing
ない。
that there are only 17 people on this island, and here are the location of 17 people,
それだけでは
is
不十分なわけ
insufficient.
です。前科もあるわけですからね。
There's already a precedent for this.
しかし
However,
全員という
the
のはあま
word
りに範囲が
everyone is
広す
just
ぎる
too
よう
broad.
他の言い方
Can't
で
you word it a
うま
little
く言い直せ
differently?
ないでしょうか。
いや、
No.
ここで
If
全員とい
we
う言葉
run away from the word everyone
エリカは
here,
それを根拠
there's a
に
chance that everyone,
全ての
that
犯人
Erika will be able to use that as a basis for making Puro Puro Pico Man the culprit for everything.
かつての俺も
In my old fights with you, I also made several riddles with no basis other than the unknown person
複数
X.
の謎にくさびを打ったことがある。
Let's see.
全員という
The
言葉
word
に
everyone carries heavy significance.
よーく
Make
考
sure
えて お返事
you
ください
think very carefully first. Erika wore a full but evil smile, confident that she had made a powerful move. Puro Puro Pico. Players on the witch side must eradicate all possibilities that would be possible for humans. If I don't crush any chances for this ridiculously named Puro Puro Pico Man right now, he'll be used to explain everything the witch does. And that was a move I liked to use in my old games with Beato. Back at the very beginning of the fight, my counterattacks were all based on a 19th person X. Because of that, it had been necessary for Beato to restrict the number of people on the island and eliminate any unknown person hiding somewhere. In that case, this time it's the same. So, just like Beato did, I need to get rid of any leeway in which that X can exist. The number of people on the island had already been declared, but since she's suspecting tricks involving the names and number of people, saying the same thing again won't satisfy her. In that case, I have no choice but to respond to her repetition request and use the word everyone. The word has a disturbing ring to it, and though I haven't figured it out yet, it feels like there's some kind of demonic killer move hidden within it. Damn. After insulting Beato so much and saying that the witch side is a huge advantage, I'm feeling this much pressure from just a single repetition request.
Distraction.
A distraction, right?
チェス用語の
You mean the chess turn?
はい。
Yes.
敵の駒に圧
It is
力
a
をかけ
technique of putting pressure on an enemy piece, forcing it to move and making them weaken their position.
全員という
I am threatening you with the broad and powerful piece called everyone, pressuring you to
バトラ
move.
さんにとっては
With this, you will be able to perfectly guarantee the alibis for all of the
以
survivors,
後の不可能犯罪を
and will probably make it possible for you to trap me in the later impossible crimes.
何を恐れます
What are you so afraid of? Shouldn't this be a powerful move for you?
しかしそれは
But it isn't a move that you're pressuring me to
お
make.
前はそれによって
You're trying to make me weaken my own position in some way.
どんな妙手も
No matter how good a move seems, it is a bad move when it is what the opponent
しかし
wants.
ここで
However, it will be hard to avoid the word everyone here. Eh sì, un bel dilemma. Oh! The red truth can cut the weak reasoning of the human side apart over and over. In the past, I feared its ruthlessness. However, I quickly learned that it could be used as a basis for a counterattack.
赤き真実は殿下の応答かベアトの気持ち
The red truth is a secret weapon, a treasured sword. Now I am painfully aware of how Beato feels. It can kill with ease, but not something to be used with abandon. Using it carelessly can corner the witch side instead.
どうします
What would you
保
do?
留でも結構
You
です
can defer the decision if you want. You can defer the decision if you want.
いや分かった認める
No. Okay. I acknowledge it.
それ以外の全員がいとこ部屋にいることを認める
I acknowledge that everyone else is in the cousin's room.
ありがとうございますバトラさん
Thank you so very much, Butler-san.
実に美しく
What a beautiful,
あっさり
decisive move.
困りました
I'm in
こ
trouble.
の状況で
If a letter from the witch were to appear in this situation, why, whomever could I suspect? She said she was in trouble, but her face didn't look troubled at all. On the contrary, she looked as though she had just succeeded in making a very important foundational move. In the witch's game, even a single mistaken move is fatal. In both chess and shogi, you can't take back a move once you've made it. The last exchange had left a bad aftertaste, as though flesh had been torn and bones broken.
所在確認はこれで十分の
That should be enough of confirming everyone's position. Shall we continue the
進めて
game?
もらおうか
そうし
Yes,
ま
we
す
shall.
ドラノールはいエリカ
Yes, Lady Erika.
それでは早速
Let's get
始めましょう
started right away.
慈悲深いゲーム
Let's
マスター
use the
さん
privilege
が
our
準備を
merciful game master has given us.
はい心当たり
Yes, understood.
ガートルードコーネリ
Gertrude, Cornelia.
ア3部屋許された
We
件の
will
うち
use the
2
two
部屋分
rooms
を
worth of 3 sets of seals we were given.
緊急
For your attention.
了解するものなりや
We hear and obey.
いとこ部屋と
Seal
隣部
the
屋を
cousin's
封印
room and the next room over.
これで
This means that everyone other than the victims has been sealed.
これ以降
No matter what happens to them, after this, the humans within the seals won't be a problem. Eh sì. Se adesso Butler ha confermato la posizione di tutti gli esseri umani vivi dentro le due stanze, chiudendoli. Non c'è nessuno che... cioè, ha garantito la posizione di tutti. E se uno di questi due sigilli si rompe, è molto ristretto il gruppo di persone che può sospettare. Molto molto smart. By the seals on the door and windows, the complete sealing of both the cousins' rooms and the next room over has been guaranteed. For just an instant the red longsword had returned to Dlanor's hand. She had been given permission to draw it, thanks to the red truth that she had finally gained. When the fight concerned the two sealed rooms from now on, Dlanor would be able to use that merciless blade, the Red Key. This overwhelming power could slice even the Game Master in half. For a while, Erika and Dlanor grinned at each other, entranced by the ruthless red light that burned into their eyes. Senior aide, allow me to ask a question. What is it? It is my understanding that the player on the human side are to interpret the problem posed by the witch as the work of humans. You are not mistaken. Then why are Lady Erika and Supervisor Dlanor fighting to lower the number of humans who can commit crimes? Cornelia's question was very simple. Those two had made this move boldly and treated it like a powerful one, so it almost made it seem as though this move would greatly damage the witch. However, if you thought about it, Erika was just strangling her own neck. We still do not know what sort of crime will occur in the future. Would it not be more advantageous to the humans if there were more people whose locations are not specified? Be advised that now is not yet the time for the lady or commander to reveal their thoughts. I apologize for my idle chatter. Cornelia looked like she wasn't satisfied. In the previous game, in order to help Kinzo escape from his study, Butler had made desperate efforts to crash his locked room using a variety of methods. As a result, Kinzo had escaped into the darkness of the night, and it had later been possible to treat him like an elusive phantom. In other words, locked rooms were advantageous to witches and disadvantageous to humans. Witches proposed locked rooms, and the humans destroyed and denied them. Those were meant to be the standard tactics of this game. And yet, Erika had created locked rooms herself and sealed a full 11 people in them. In other words, this was the same as abandoning the right to use those 11 people, when explaining all of the later tricks. Butler had also once sought to confirm the location of certain people, but that had been to check whether certain pieces existed and which he could break locked rooms. Butler had also once sought to confirm the locations of certain people, but that had been to check whether certain pieces existed with which he could break locked rooms, a completely different situation. Why had Erika taken those 11 people who were supposed to be her pieces and sealed them in a locked room? Cornelia didn't have enough experience out on the field to understand this move, which only looked as though they were trapping themselves. Disturbing move. What on earth is Erika planning? It isn't necessarily an attack. It is the same in chess and shogi. Strengthening the guard around your king is a valid strategy. Valid strategy. In other words, seals around those two rooms aren't an attack, but a defense? That seems likely. Thanks to that, it's hard to lay an hand on the survivors. It'll be tough to carry out the second Twilight. I see. The witch side has an advantage when more mysteries are presented.
そうだ
Yeah.
何しろ
After all, if even one mystery goes unsolved, the witch
多
wins.
くの密室を提示した
Each
方が有
new
利
locked room we present increases our advantage. The mysteries that the witch side sets up are equivalent to attacks. The human side must perfectly intercept all of those. It's almost like a penalty kick face-off where conceding a single goal means defeat. So, the witch side wants to increase its number of attacks, and the human side wants to lower the number of attacks. When Butler had fought on the human side, he hadn't thought of the survivors holding up in a room and being particularly useful. However, from the witch side perspective, this strategy was simple but effective. What made Beato incredible was the way she had bluffed and sneered at that as though it was useless. On the inside, she must have been very worried about how to break down all of those barricades in each game. Right now, I'm sure of that.
なるほど
I see, so strengthening your guard to make it hard for a crime to occur is one way for the human side to fight.
しかし
However,
それは平
that's a simple move.
あの名探偵
That great detective Furudo Erika wouldn't have looked so proud of herself after playing a move like that. Would Erika be happy after playing a defensive move? Though this move looks as though she's restraining herself, it's also extremely unlikely that Erika of all people played a defensive move.
これはきっと
I'm sure that this is an attack, not a move made for
ど
defense.
ういう攻撃か理解
Though I don't know what kind of attack it is.
次は私たちの手番です
Next, it's our move.
がどうしま
What
す
shall we do? For the moment, she has, at least apparently, spent her turn on strengthening her guard to stop the second twilight instead of reasoning about the first twilight.
おさば引け
If they push, pull back. If they pull back, push.
ならこっちは
In that case,
攻めていく
it's
しか
time
ない
for us to attack.
しかし
But
どう攻めれば
how
いい
should we
んだ
attack?
ゲストハウスは
The
かなり
guest
の
house
守りにな
is
ってい
well
ます
guarded.
そうだな
Yes, it appears as though the entire area of the guest house is now under Erika's control.
しかし
However, there are certain pieces like bishops and knights whose specialty is cutting behind enemy lines. Butler snapped his fingers and a single gold butterfly appeared from the darkness, then flew up to the chessboard, trailing gold dust behind it. It landed without a sound, then transformed into a black piece representing the witch's darkness.
X-ray
X-ray.
チェス用語だ
That's also a chess term.
はい
Yes, it's when a square seems to be under an enemy's control, but you observe that your own pieces do actually exert enough influence, so you attack. Okay, enough influence, so you attack. It's a high-level technique,
エリカ
Erika.
生存者を全て
If you really believe that you can defend against my next attack just by sealing up all of the survivors,
それは甘い
that's a naive idea. Butler raised his new black piece high. His target was a single open space deep behind enemy lines.
どう
How will you handle it?
これが俺の
This is my response. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-bam,
これでようやく
Now I
羽
can
が
finally
伸びせます
stretch my
ま
wings.
ずは
First off, let's take a midnight stroll to the mansion.
殺人犯が
You
潜んでいるか
want
も
to
しれ
take
な
a
い
stroll in the
不気味な
middle of the
屋敷に
night to an eerie mansion where a killer might be hiding?
盛況なご
You
神
must be
です
very eccentric.
とんでもない
By no
よう
means.
やく得た
I
自
had
由
to
時
wait a
間じゃない
long
ですか
time to be free like
今
this.
の私は
It feels like it's free time
プール授業の後の
after a
自由時間みたい
swimming
に
lesson.
ワクワクしています
Now that Ben Castello was nowhere in sight, Erika was regaining her high spirits. She wasn't exaggerating when she said she could spread her wings. Lanor knew that she was Lanor knew that she was staking her own destruction on this game, and she was not in a favorable position by all means. Lanor could do nothing but assist Erika so that she could fight to the best of her abilities. Alright. The locks on the first floor of the guest house are perfect. The entrance is sealed up with a chain lock. Before leaving the guest house, Erika did a check on the first floor, making sure that nothing was out of place. Then she found a flashlight and an umbrella in the servant room next to the entrance. Then, let us go. Yes. Let's at least have to check the cause. We at least have to check the cause of death for all 6. She unset the chain, unlocked the door and opened it. The freezing outside air poured in. It appeared to be quite windy still. Well, this body is just a cage of flesh to me. I don't care if it gets wet or cold. Let's go. When Erika dropped her gaze to open her umbrella, she noticed something lying at her feet. Oh! It's one of those unusual letters. It was one of those letters sent by the witch, with the seal of the one-winged eagle on it. He had been wedged under the outside mat in front of the entrance, as though someone had predicted that Erika would eventually come this way while heading for the mansion. Due to the guest house's large eaves, the envelope had avoided the rain entirely. So it's here already. Almost as though it was waiting for me. She bent over and picked it up. Then she tore it open recklessly and pulled the letter inside out of it. A message had been written in a neat handwriting. Welcome, Furudo Erika-sama, it says. Oh, so you're calling me. It's calling me by name. They totally saw this coming. What does it say? It's an advance notice of a crime. Well, a post factum notice technically. Apparently, they have taken Ushiromiya's butler's corpse. They're asking me to try looking for it. So this isn't the Terra Parte 2 who are close of the second Twilight? Well, disappearing corpses happened a few times in Beato's games too. There's nothing really new about this. Erika shrugged and scorned the letter. However, this letter was a real attack. All of the survivors were sealed in the rooms on the second floor, and after Kraus and the others had gone around checking doors and windows, Erika had personally made sure that there was nothing on this spot. So, this was an attack saying that someone who shouldn't exist had placed the letter and that this someone was a witch. That was also an attack that the old Beato had often used. Sheesh. If the way you show it is the same, please tell me that the actual trick isn't the same too. Lanor, please call Butler here. Understood. Butler, Lord Butler, we wish to take our turn. Got it. Let's have it. I'm ever so sorry. I actually don't have a new move to announce. The truth is, this is an apology. There's something I need to apologize for. Apologize? Butler and Beato eyes went wide. However, though Erika said that she wanted to apologize, she had a confident look on her face as though even that apology was a new move. So Butler glared at her dubiously without letting his guard down. It's about those retroactive seals. They've actually already sealed one place. I apologize for taking so long to report this to you. You already sealed something? In other words, you've already used up all of the 3 rooms worth? Yes, I promised that I'd report on it right away, but I completely forgot until just now. You have my sincere apologies. You don't look like someone who's sincerely apologizing. Well, that's fine. I'm the one who gave you that privilege. So, where and when did you place the seals? Lanor? Allow me to report. Butler's guest room was sealed at the time of Lady Erika's inspection of the corpse. Beato tried not to let it show on her face, but Erika didn't miss her eyebrows twitching slightly and her gaze flicking over to Butler. Normally, I would have liked to seal all 5 of the locked rooms, but I didn't have enough duct tape. Out of respect for the game master, I only sealed the locked room with Butler's son's corpse. So you were kind enough to close the lid on my coffin. I remembered a short while ago. And I was planning to tell you when we reach the mansion and investigate the guest room with your corpse in it. However, when this letter appeared, I figured I should report it right away. Why did you think that? Why did you think that? Well, after all, Butler's son has been playing this game not knowing that his corpse was sealed in a guest room. In the guest room. Because of that, I thought possibly that it might change things regarding the appearance of this letter. The cousin's room and the next room over are currently sealed. Sorry for the late report, but the guest room with your corpse in it is also sealed. And there are 17 people on the island, excluding Lady Erika. The existence of an 18th person had already been denied in a previous game. So, when I thought about it, the person who could have placed the letter and erased your corpse, I thought that maybe, just maybe, things might be different. Erika laughed nastily while staring into Butler's eyes to see if he was panicked or disturbed. Stay calm. Erika just made a report a bit late. There's nothing to be nervous about. Erika has suspected it since the beginning. It was possible that Butler actually hadn't been killed and was still alive. And if he was alive, then the letter that had suddenly appeared was easy to explain, even though all of the survivors were sealed up. Judging by Beato's faint agitation, maybe Erika's guess had been right on the mark. Beh sì, se Butler ha fatto solo finta di essere morto, confermando la location e l'identità di tutte le persone nelle 2 stanze, comunque questo non dà nessun problema. Cioè, nonostante ci siano 11 persone nelle 2 stanze, Erika fuori, comunque se Butler non è morto ed è chiuso nella locked room, che adesso non è neanche più chiusa perché l'hanno investigata, l'hanno aperta, potrebbe uscire, mettere lui la lettera e tornare indietro e ritornare a essere un cadavere. Non c'è nessuna cosa che lo ferma dal farlo effettivamente, se non il duct tape di Erika. Butler had played dead and somehow misled Erika's examination. And then, when everyone had holed up in the guest room, he had snuck out of the guest. Quello che ho detto io adesso. He had placed the letter about the disappearances of his own corpse at the entrance of the guest house and then had gone into hiding. Eh sì. Giusto, tra l'altro non deve tornare indietro perché nelle lettere c'è scritto che il suo corpo è sparito. Quindi se fosse stato se Butler fosse ancora vivo, gli bastava uscire, mettere la lettera e poi andarsene a fare in culo nel bosco come Kinzo in episodio 5. If this was the truth, then the seals that had been placed on Butler's guest room and at the time of Erika's examination were now very significant. In short, if he had used this trick, then Butler would have broken the seals when he left his guest room. The trick would not be workable without breaking the seals. Since the survivors were all sealed in the guest house, breaking the seal on the guest room would mean acknowledging that at least one of the victims was actually alive. If Butler had known about the seals earlier... If Butler had known about the seals earlier, it was likely that he would have never advanced the game, that he would have advanced the game in a very different way to avoid this. In other words, it was very likely that an announcement about the seals would have had a large effect on the rest of Butler's game. Erika was saying if Butler played the part of a corpse, he had remained inside the guest room to avoid breaking the seals. Then perhaps the plot would have not included this letter. If the truth was that Butler was actually alive and had placed the letter there, then now Erika's seals had come into play. There was a chance that he would find a contradiction in his trick somewhere down the line. That sort of contradiction is called a logic error.
Logic error?
A logic error? I think we heard it. I think we heard about that really early on in this story. It's an illegal move that the greatest and worst form it is an illegal move, the greatest and worst form of error, and one that the witch side must never commit. I remember, it was something about the two sides of the tale not matching and creating a contradiction. Do you remember the part about magic for making candy appear inside an overturned cup? Yeah, Maria-Onecha and Erika were fighting about that. It was just a sleight of hand where someone slipped a candy into the cup while Onecha had her eyes closed. That's right. Since Maria did not observe the process of the trick and was only given the result, she accepted the magical fantasy that the candy had appeared and by magic inside the cup, and magic was established. Okay, so a logic error would be a trick that has become impossible. Thinking back the time when Erika and Maria fought fiercely about this magic with the red and blue truth was really the opening battle of this tale. Let's try to remember that exchange. The heartless conclusion was that it had all been a trick. Making the candy appear in the cup by magic had been nothing more than Beato's claim. Magic can only do things that one can accomplish. In other words, the only result that magic can leave behind are those that can be accomplished without magic. Allow me to say it straight out. There are generally two types of magic. If you summon giants and make towers grow from the ground, but when the lid is taken off, nothing has happened in a rose garden. That's one type of magic. That is just fantasy, an illusion. It's a lie with no observers, taking place only where there is absolutely no anti-magic toxin, to use the word of a witch. Magic that does not have to produce a result is the easiest kind, and it is a lie. It is the same as a worthless delusion, a fantasy, a daydream. Even Butler saw it through partway through the third game. Then there is the other kind, which we might call true magic, magic with results. The cup trick is an example of magic with results, because the observer checks and actually confirms that the cup is empty and the candy does appear inside the cup, and the observer is actually able to obtain that candy. I have noticed that unlike the magic of illusions, magic with results must follow one big rule. The rule is that only the unobserved process of what you accomplish can be transformed into magic. I'll say it even more plainly and ruthlessly. In short, all forms of magic are tricks. The only result of magic are things that can be accomplished without magic. Ironically, this also proves that magic doesn't exist. But out of respect for the Witch's game, let's call it making the game solvable and fair for the human player. Qua è proprio cattiva, diretta, direttissima. Sono le frasi che, cioè, insomma, noi piano piano l'abbiamo capito tutte queste differenze, abbiamo ragionato, siamo arrivati a queste stesse conclusioni, però minchia è abbastanza duro dire it proves that magic doesn't exist. Però sì, insomma, se la magia può fare solo cose che puoi fare senza magia e la magia appartiene solo alle parti che non sono state osservate di queste cose che puoi fare senza magia, è ovvio che, vabbè, come l'abbiamo detto in maniera un po' più gentile, è un abbellimento della realtà, semplicemente. So, this time around, the candies in the cup is a mysterious letter. So this time around, the candy in the cup is a mysterious letter that appeared in front of Erika. In other words, it has to be a trick, a sleight of hand. By claiming that the witch set the letter there by magic, Oni-chan is trying to create magic with results. Correct. Since all of the survivors are sealed within the locked room of the guest house, it is possible to embellish this suddenly appearing letter and say that it was a strange magic that only a witch could have placed it there. But even so, it must be a possible trick in the end. E quindi praticamente, se le 11 persone, adesso facciamo un conto velocissimo, le 11 persone che sono in una stanza, Kraus, Jessica, Rudolph, Genji, Kanon e Goda in una stanza, nell'altra stanza Hideyoshi, George, Shannon e Kumasawa, loro non possono essere stati ad aver messo la lettera lì. D'altra parte, Erika non è stata, Kinzo non può essere stato perché Kinzo è morto. Le uniche persone che possono averla messa sono le 6 persone che forse sono vive, forse sono morte. Again, se questo è il trucco, è molto semplice. Semplicemente uno o tutti loro stanno facendo finta di essere morti e uno di loro, in questo caso plausibilmente Butler, è uscito, ha messo la lettera e poi è scomparso. Ma questa cosa diventa impossibile se Erika ha messo i sigilli col nastro adesivo. In order to break through the trick with the candy and the cup, Erika had countered with the blue troops saying that the candy had been snuck in there while Maria's eyes were closed. That was the correct answer, so Maria hadn't had any red that she could use. But what if she had used it? For example, what if Maria had used the red truth at the time to say, until Maria lifted up the cup, the locked room of the overturned cup was preserved? The red truth can only be used for the truth, right? If you can lie with it, it'd be a massive violation of the rules. True. Denying your own trick with the red truth is a large violation of the rules. However, if you instantly switch over to another trick that doesn't violate that red truth, although slightly unfair, the red truth is admissible. So in that case, in order to avoid contradicting the red truth that the locked room inside the cup was preserved, the which side would need to immediately propose a different trick compatible with that red truth. Like an excuse of a politician when he keeps backtracking as new evidence is shown to him. Yes. Well, as read like this, she might be able to get away with some painful excuse. Maybe there was some device on the table, or maybe it was a trick cup with a fake bottom. But if those possibilities had been denied in red beforehand, they would not work either. The more red truths there are, the harder it is to talk your way out. Allora, Andrew, possibile, e sono sicuro che se va avanti in questo modo, Battle la tirerà fuori quel tipo di difesa nel caso. Teoricamente sì, non puoi... Sai cosa? Adesso la butto lì, non è spoiler, again, sto dicendo, sto ragionando e basta, perché non saprei la risposta di questo. Magari la differenza tra un logic error e usare la verità rossa quando non puoi è che da una parte tu sei a conoscenza della cosa e dall'altra parte no. Cioè, se per esempio Butler adesso, se diamo per scontato il fatto che sia stato il Butler che ha fatto finta di morire, aver portato la lettera lì, e questo compone un logic error, Butler non lo sapeva prima perché Erika non l'aveva detto che aveva messo i sigilli. D'altra parte, se Butler lo sapeva e provava a fare questa cosa, magari non ci sarebbe riuscito in primo luogo, perché è proprio l'equivalente di soffocare sul rosso quando dici qualcosa di non vero. Non lo so, vabbè, vedremo andando avanti. In actuality, the candy had been put in the cup while Maria's eyes were closed. However, if, when Erika saw through that, Maria had used the red to say that the locked room of the cup had been preserved, the witch would have to rush and revise the scenario to a new trick that still worked logically after the new red. Revising the scenario is an unfair move that would be never allowed in mysteries. However, the very act of revising the scenario takes place inside the witch's head, which is an unobservable world. So, she could claim that she had been using the trick with a fake bottom cup from the beginning, and no one could deny that. So, even if it really was a trick done while Onechan's eyes were closed, as long as the witch leaves herself a way out, she can even switch between truths, EI tricks. Rather than calling this an action allowed to witches, it would probably be better to say that it was only allowed for the game master, the one who creates and writes. But even still, the new trick must not contradict any of the previously stated red truths. If the red truth makes it so that the trick no longer makes logical sense, then there would be a mismatch between the two sides of the story, the illusory result that the game master claims was done by magic, and the true result that was brought about by a trick. There will be a contradiction, and things will no longer make logical sense. That is what we call a logic error. And that means the destruction of the witch's game. The world is a game that is possible to explain with humans. No, this world is a game that is possible to explain with humans. In other words, it must be possible for all the magic to have been done by tricks instead. If it's impossible to do with tricks, then the human side has no move and would get a stalemate. No, that's wrong. That is precisely the fatal and worst possible illegal move known as a logic error. No, that's wrong. That is precisely the fatal and worst possible illegal move known as a logic error. If the witch side commits such an error, the game is instantly destroyed and they suffer a fatal defeat. Erika has probably seen through Oni-chan's trick. Without the detective's authority, Erika can't perform a proper examination of the corpses. Because of that, he continued to play dead, snuck out of the guest room, and placed the letter at the entrance to the guest house. However, because Butler was so overtly gracious in giving out those retroactive seals, things went wrong. Oni-chan no baka! Panic is an unwarranted... scusa. Io ho bisogno di sentirlo di nuovo. Panic is unwarranted at present. It is yet to be specified with that proof that the seals around the guest room are intact. He is free to break the seals. If he does not, then he can probably have it so that someone other than Butler was alive and swap them in as the person who placed the letter. That's right. It is not just Oni-chan, the other corpses that haven't been confirmed dead with the red roof either. So far, there wouldn't be any problem if they were all faking. Exactly. It is not yet the stage to get flustered. He merely has to change his move so that Erika's seals and the placement of the letter don't contradict each other. And revising the plot without contradiction is one of the moves available to the Game Master. However, taking a scenario one has imagined and revising it partway through can sometimes create flaws in the tale. It would be a very painful move to make when the first twilight has only just ended. It would seem that Butler was the one with an enemy piece deep behind his lines. This hidden piece will probably cause him pain and discomfort with each step from now on, like a pebble caught in one's shoe. This single pebble might kill Butler. This still isn't quite a logic error, and we are at fault for the delay in reporting that we have sealed the room retroactively. So I have no problem with letting Butler's son retroactively rewrite the plot concerning this letter. Retroactively rewrite the plot? I see. If I placed the letter there, then that would be impossible as soon as I was sealed in that locked room. In which case, this letter shouldn't have appeared here. Correct. So, I thought you should have the chance to revise that small contradiction. We have discovered this letter here. We are saying that we do not mind if you want to undo that, or if you want to use a revised scenario. All it takes is the presence of the letter as some duct tape, and a move like this becomes trivial for Furuto Erika. Ikaga desu? Minasama gata? Esplosa. Damn, what a dirty move. Well, what else should I expect from Erika? And I also made a promise with Lanor to play an all-out merciless game. Yes, it's true. I had been planning to make Butler actually alive and then to have him slip out of the guest room, resulting in his disappearance and the placement of the letter. However, if I revise the scenario now that the move's been spotted, it'll be the same as admitting that he was spotted. Even if I have to be stubborn about it, I don't want to admit that I was seen through here. I don't want to acknowledge a pathetic plot change where I try to sneak out of the guest room and end up breaking the seal. I want to change over to a different trick, so that the letter will be placed and my corpse will be hidden, while still preserving the seals on the guest room. It doesn't really have to be me who places the letter. I can still revise the logic without contradictions. But Butler-san, even if you can place the letter somehow, how are you going to make your corpse vanish afterwards? The guest room is sealed. If you don't find a trick to erase the corpse from the locked room right now, a logic error will occur. I still have time. Let me think until the last second. No, fuck. With a painful laugh, Butler unconsciously scratched at his head. Anyway, we'll leave the letter like this. I can't say, oh, sorry about that, having the guest room sealed makes a big contradiction, so I'd like to revise my rule. It would be an admission that she caught me. I feel like a ninja hiding above the ceiling. Even though I was noticed and stabbed by a spear, I just withstand the pain, wipe up the blood, and act as though nothing happened. False courage works well enough. I can let her know that this one's hurt. That this one hurt. Hey, Beato. What does my face look like right now? I'm sure it's the same expression you had when I managed to hit you when it hurts in the past. Beato couldn't think of anything to say. Useless words of comfort would only get in the way of Butler's thinking now. What would the old you do? The old you who created all of the locked rooms that tormented me so much in the past. What kind of trick would she use to erase my corpse from a locked room? Beato trembled and groaned. The old her had been an expert at locked room tricks. If only that memory, that power could revive, she would be able to help Butler. There's still time to think. There's still time. Nice going, Erika. That was a dirty move. Oh. Logic error.